Good morning, Knights, and welcome back to another video to explain two of the things that make North Penn so unique. Something that are familiar to our juniors and seniors, but are new to our freshmen and sophomores. So this morning, I am going to talk to you a little bit about Night Zone and Second Chance Learning. So first, let's start off with Night Zone. Now, Night Zone is what you're currently sitting in, and hopefully this week you've learned through the safety presentation yesterday. Night Zone is assigned to everybody, and it is something that we use to assign students their places in our evacuation procedures. So for evacuation drills and things like that, again, when you look on your schedule in Night Zone, you will see where you're assigned that EA, WA, with the seat, that designation that you're going to go through on the emergency drill on Friday. That's all assigned through Night Zone. But after these first 2 weeks, so starting on Monday, next Monday, Night Zone becomes something different. It is no longer mandatory, and we're going to go to our normal bell schedule. So let's start by looking at that bell schedule. So as you can see here on the screen, we have a unique bell schedule here at North Penn High School in that it is different. Monday through Thursday is one bell schedule, and then Friday is a separate bell schedule. So the way that that works is Monday through Thursday, Night Zone runs 7:21 to 8:03, and we're going to talk about what that is in just 1 second. On Friday, Night Zone is 7:21 to 7:48. Now, the reason for this is there's one thing that all of North Penn High School does together every Friday. It's a tradition, it's something that's very important and is award-winning, and that's the MPTV morning shows. We have morning show every Friday. That's why we start first period a little bit early on Friday. So you come in 7:48. We start class at 7:52, and then that Friday morning class starts with MPTV mornings. It's about a 10 to 15 minute morning show, shows you everything that's going on at the high school, some great content produced by our MPTV students and crew. So we have that every Friday. So that is the reason for kind of the different schedule. Again, Monday through Thursday. Make sure you get used to that, because that first Friday, we always have students rolling in late and then getting tardy. So we want to make sure everybody's aware. But on Friday, so starting next Friday, we have that 7:21 to 7:48 Night Zone. So it is a shorter Night Zone. So what exactly is Night Zone starting on Monday? Night Zone becomes a optional period. So what I mean by that is attendance is optional. It's a 42-minute period that's designed to give students a soft landing to their school day and provide additional time for them to have access to their teachers, to have second chance learning, which we're going to talk about in the second half of the video, and build relationships within the building. But it's also what is needed for students. So that's really what Night Zone is designed around. We talk about that soft landing. So what is needed? So if you need extra help from a teacher, so say you're sitting in class Tuesday afternoon and Wednesday morning, you're thinking, man, I was really struggling with the homework last night. I have a couple questions. Wednesday Night Zone, come in, and that time between 7:21 and 8:03, you have time to go to that teacher and ask questions about that homework, get some additional help. If you have a test on say a Friday, that Friday morning, you can go in and you can ask questions to that teacher. That Thursday morning, you can go in and ask teachers about what to study or to re-explain a topic that you might be struggling with. So it gives you extra time to go in and see teachers and get additional help. If you have a teacher, juniors, seniors, if you have a teacher who, you know what, was your favorite teacher and you don't have them this year and you want to stop by and say, hey, how are you doing? You know, I really missed you. I just wanted to say hi. You have that time in the morning to stop in and say hi to that teacher. If you and your best friend don't have any classes together and you go through school and you're thinking, man, I wish we would have had lunch together. Now in Night Zone, you come in, you have time to hang out, to kind of spend time to see each other, to build those relationships during Night Zone. So it really is what is needed. So the entire building is open, and we're going to go through that here. But first, let's say transportation. There's no changes to transportation. So what that means is, even though this period is now 7:21 to 8:03 is optional, and when I say optional, again, if what is needed, if you need some extra sleep and you don't want to start your day till 8:03, that's okay too. You do not need to be in the building until 8:03. That's when we start taking attendance on Monday through Thursday, and then 7:48 that's when we take attendance on Friday. So, but with that, there's no change in transportation. The buses still come at the regular time. So if you don't have a ride and you have to take the bus, you come in and you get to experience Night Zone in person. So buses come in, they drop off before 7:21. The first bell still rings, 7:21. That's when Night Zone starts. Attendance, like I said earlier, it's not mandatory. It will be taken at the beginning of the first period. So 8:07. Remember that bell to get to class starts at 8:03. So while we say it's taken at 8:07, really you should be in the building at 8:03 and going to your first period class. And then on Fridays, 7:48 is when that bell rings. 7:52 is when you should be in class and attendance should be taken. It's really important that you're getting in on time. You're not tardy. If you do come in after those times, you'll come in, you'll scan in, and then you're going to have to go to your home office and check in before you go to class if you're tardy. Now, I think in the in-person discipline and the meetings with your home office, I'll talk a little bit about tardies, but let me talk here. If you're tardy to school, those do add up. There are discipline consequences to being tardy for school. Something that actually changed with the law this year is tardy to school and actually cuts from class this year. The minutes that you are out of class will get added up. And when they equal a full day, it'll go towards truancy. So if you are tardy to class, say 20 days in a row, even though you've never missed a day, you could actually be truant from school and then end up with a homeschool visitor and potentially going to court for truancy because of the number of minutes you missed from school. So please make sure you're getting in on time. Remember, 8:03 on Monday through Thursday, so you can be in class by 8:07, and then 7:48 on Friday, so you can be in class by 7:52. But again, so attendance for Night Zone, not mandatory. You can either come in on the bus or get a ride and be here anytime starting at 6:45. Students are in the building, or you can come in and be there at the end as long as you're in by first period. So again, Night Zone, I said the building is open. So what that means is teacher availability. Teachers will be available and in their classroom. So that means you have access to them. So again, if you're struggling in a class, if you are an athlete or a member of the band or a member of one of our choral groups or orchestra or anything where you are out of the building. So let's say that you're a field hockey player and you have an away game. So you have to leave early 8th period and you miss part of your Algebra 2 class. Night Zone the next morning is a perfect time to go in and check in with the teacher and say, okay, this is what I caught up on, but I'm a little shaky on this. Can you go over this to help? That's really what it's designed for. So it's in to check in, get that additional help, ask questions about homework, ask questions about upcoming tests. Again, second chance learning, which we'll talk more about. It's your time to make up tests. So if you miss a test or you're absent, second chance learning is where you will schedule the makeup so that you're not missing additional classes when you do take that makeup. So that's where you will schedule all that. So again, teachers are available during that time for students to access. The hallway and common areas, they're available too. So if you're not going to a classroom to check in, we ask that you have access to all of the other parts of the building. The cafeteria is open. The concourse is open. You'll see students sitting in the concourse, right, when you walk in the main entrance. The gyms are open. So you'll see students down in the gym. The basketballs will be out. Some other activities will be set up depending on what students want to do. There'll be people down there to help. And it's just a place to kind of burn off some steam before you get to the first class, get some of that energy out. So gyms are open, cafeteria is open, the IMC is open, the concourse is open. So there's all kinds of common areas to come in and do some different things to just kind of get some energy out to, again, just to build relationships, to do things that are needed other than check in for class. So that kind of soft landing is available throughout the building. But one thing that we do ask when we talk about hallway and common area expectations, one of the main reasons for Night Zone is students accessing the teachers for additional help. So when you're in the hallways, we ask that you're mindful of that and you treat it like it is a school day, right? So you're there in the morning, you treat it like classes in session. So if you're hanging out, say, in EPOD and you're walking through with your friends, that's perfectly fine. That's something that you can do during Night Zone. If you just want to get some steps in and walk around, do EPOD and then APOD, you can do so. but you need to do so in a appropriate and I would say a considerate fashion, knowing that not classes, but students might be in session with teachers trying to get additional help. You have to do so quietly. So again, you need to kind of the same rules that would be in place during the school day, during class period in the hallways. We ask that you keep that same level of noise, where it's really more so just talking to the person next to you, no yelling, no running in the halls, nothing like that. You need to have those same boundaries and follow the same expectations that we would have throughout the school day in the hallways, in the common areas, but really use that time for what is needed. So again, this is, if you ask students from last year, if you ask some of the seniors that graduated last year, our juniors and seniors this year, I think Night Zone has been a huge success. Students have given great feedback that it allows them to get additional help. It takes some of the stress out of their day. So it's something that we really want to continue. And we can only continue if everybody kind of continues to do what they need to do and behave themselves and really be respectful of each other, respectful of staff, and just respectful of the rules during this time. So we ask that you follow those. If you have any questions, you can stop in your home office. You can always stop and ask me or any of your teachers to know a little bit more about Night Zone. So the last thing about Night Zone is, how do you get into the building? So before 7:21, so just like you did this past 2 weeks, you can enter any of the three entrances. So we have the bus loop, we have the main entrance, and we have the sports lobby. All three entrances are open before 7:21. Once the start of the day, once the start of Night Zone, the bell rings at 7:21, the bus loop and the sports lobby entrances close. So those both get locked. And after 7:21, all students that come into the building later than that have to come in the main entrance. So 7:21, sports lobby and bus loop close. Main entrance is the only one open. You must come in there if you're coming in after 7:21. And then finally, seniors with late arrival, you also have access to Night Zone. If you need to come in, talk to a teacher, make up a test, you can come in, see that teacher, take care of that, whatever you need to do. If you don't have class that starts till second or third period, you can come back down to the front, check in with Bernie or whoever the security guard is there. I'm usually up at the front too. Check in and say, hey, I'm here. I took my stuff. I'm gonna, leave and come back for when my day starts. There will be a kiosk there to check out with. You check out, and then you'll have to check back in when you come in at the start of second period. So that's an overview of Night Zone. Again, if you have any questions, feel free to ask any of the staff. They can give you a little bit more information about that. So one of the things you heard me talk about there was second chance learning. This is, I believe now, really like the third year, kind of the fourth year that second chance learning has been something here at the high school. And really what it is, it's a tool to assist students to give them an opportunity if they struggle on a test, or if you say, you had a lot going on and you studied for a test and you came back and you got a score and you really think, I didn't really understand that material, or, I had a lot on my mind and I wasn't quite focused. I didn't do as well as I wanted to. Second chance learning is an opportunity to get a second chance, is really the best way to say it. It gives you an opportunity to relearn the material, to do some additional work, get some more experience with the material, some more practice with it, relearn it, and then test again. So get a second chance at the test to try to bring up your score, but also to try to, really the purpose of it isn't just to bring up your score. The purpose of it is to relearn the material and to retain more of the knowledge, to master more of the content, right? Because the purpose of school is to gain and master content so that it helps you be successful once you get out of school. So second chance is an opportunity. So if you took a test, you say, man, I really didn't get that. It gives you another chance to learn it, master it, take a test. A benefit of that is hopefully your score goes up, but then master that content and then be better set up for the next test, be better set up for the final, be better set up for when you exit the school and move on to whatever you want to do post high school. So here's what second chance learning looks like. If you score a 0 to 70 on the first test, so the original assessment, you're eligible for second chance learning and you can remediate as many times So if you have 3 assessments, so any type of assessment that you have, if we're looking at any type of cumulative task in your grade book, it's called. So that's kind of, a bigger test. It's in the grade book as a cumulative task. If you score from a 0 to a 70 on it, you're eligible for second chance learning. So you would have 3 days to notify your teacher and say, hey, I struggled on that test. 3 days after you get the test back, I would like to take, second chance. So 3 days, notify the teacher. Your teachers will go over this with you and should have, how exactly to access this in their classroom. They should go over that with you. So it might be a form. It might be just going up and saying to the teacher, like, hey, I want to take this. But you notify the teacher with however they lay that out for you. And then you have 6 days in which to complete the second chance learning from when the final exam is returned. So what that means, it's not just, hey, you know what, I did poorly, I want to take a second test, give me the test, I'm going to come in and do it the next day. That's not second chance learning. What it is you notify the teacher. The teacher says, okay, you want to take a second chance, here's some additional work, or here's some sort of review. Take this review. So you go do that, you take a look at the review, you do that work, it helps refresh your knowledge, right? It might help you relearn. It's going to help you master the content that you struggled with. The teacher might say then, hey, for the second chance learning, you need to come in during night zone to check in with me, to go over, I'm going to go over this to help you and assist you. That could be mandatory. So they say, hey, in order to do second chance learning, you have to come to night zone this week and check in with me. You must go to that night zone, check in with the teacher, show that you did that additional learning. And at that point, they'll say, okay, here's a second chance opportunity. You schedule the second chance opportunity, you go in, you retake the test, you do the assignment, whatever they assign to you, turn it in, it gets graded, and then your final score is an average of the first attempt and the second attempt. So you see there, it's an average score because that first attempt counts. Second chance learning isn't just, you know what, I didn't study, so I'm going to bomb the first test and just do a second chance. We put in the average because if you just bomb that first attempt, knowing that you have a second one and you just blow it off, that hurts your overall grade. So it's really important, excuse me, you try your best on that first attempt. If you do need a second chance learning, you go through the process, you try to remaster the learning, you take that second attempt, and then you get the average of the 2 scores. So it's 30% of the first score, 70% of the second score, they get averaged together, and that is your final score for that assessment. So if you have a 0 to a 70% on any cumulative task, that is eligible for second chance learning. If you score between a 71 and an 89, you have 1 opportunity per marking period. So what that means is if you score in there and let's say your first test, you score a 75 and you think, man, I really could have done better. I want to do second chance learning. You have the same process that I just explained. So you reach out to the teacher, you set it up. It's the same amount of time, same time frame. You do all of that. You go back and you have to complete missing assignments. So you go through, you complete those missing assignments, you do the second chance learning. You have 3 days to notify the teacher. You have 6 days to take the second chance learning. You take the test, second chance, it's still 30% of your first test, 70% of your second test. Here's the difference. If on the second cumulative task, you get a 75 again, but you already took your second chance learning, you're not eligible. If you score within that range, you only have 1 attempt per marking period. So you kind of have to be mindful. If you're getting kind of a C and you're like, okay, I'm going to use second chance learning. Well, you had that opportunity to bring up your grade on this next test. If you score in that range, you don't have that chance. So it's 1 per marking period if you score in that 71 to 89%. Okay. So that's the difference there on kind of the score in second chance learning. And then the last thing that we have here is if you score in the 90 to 100%, you're not eligible for second chance learning. If you score in the 90 to 100% on a cumulative task, you're showing that you mastered the content. right? So remember, the reason for second chance learning is to remaster, to get a second chance to master the content. If you're scoring a 90 to 100%, you have an A, you showed you've mastered the content. So really, you could say, well, I want a higher grade. Second chance learning isn't necessarily about the higher grade. That's definitely an effect of second chance learning. Second chance learning is about mastering the content. And if you have an A on that assessment, you've mastered that content. So therefore, you're not eligible for second chance learning. So that is an overview of SCL. You'll see the guidelines in each one of your classes. Your teachers should introduce that to you. Again, if you have questions about SCL in any of your classes, ask your teacher. It should be in their syllabus. They should go over it. If they haven't already, they may have. This might be just a review. Maybe they went through it in the first couple of days. But as you're coming into your assessments, know that this is an option. Again, this is not something that you should just count on and say, I have a second chance, so I'm going to bomb that first test. Remember, the first test counts and will be held against you, right? Second chance learning is for when you're trying your best and you just have that bad day, or it's content that you're really struggling with. It's a second chance to bring up that grade. So continue to focus, but know that second chance learning is there if you need it. So that is an overview of Night Zone and second chance learning. Again, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to your school counselor, reach out to your assistant principal in the home office, reach out to your teachers, or you can always stop and see me. I'd be more than happy to answer questions about these topics or anything else that you have. This is the last video from me that you'll see in these mandatory night zones. I hope that everybody has a great day and a great week. I'm sure that Friday will go well with our planned evacuation. I know there's a little bit of rain in the forecast for Thursday night, so hopefully it dries out and we're able to go on Friday. If for some reason there's rain and we have to make an adjustment, we would announce that on Thursday, and I would send something out to everybody and make a change. Does not look like we're going to need to do that. So I hope that everybody has a great day, a great week, and can't wait to see you out in the hallways.